Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first Liberalists UK live stream. Please bear with me whilst I sort out the phone that is going off in my background.
He's a popular man.
UK live stream. Please.
I think his mum's just making sure that he knows that tea's there to be reheated. Just give him a second. Oh, where's he going? Where's he going? Hi everyone. I'm Ben. I'm on my own right now. What's he looking for? No. Oh, there he is. There he is. No, sat back down again. You've missed the call. It said 7 days, but you missed the call.
What said 7? Oh, the phone call. That's fine. It's fine. Yeah. People trying to get through to me and all that. Right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, all 10 of you. Let's see if anyone else turns up first. But welcome, welcome. This is a dynamic and community engagement stream. So please comment. Please let us know your opinions, and please ask your questions in the chat. We will be trawling through and basically picking them out so that we can answer things. Do have some questions that were picked up from Facebook. Notably about 5 or 6 of them that we will endeavour to open and to answer for you. My name is Mark. I am the head of marketing for the Liberalists UK. I am joined this evening by Ben Brown, who is the head of our university operations, and we will be hopefully joined later by Joel Lord, who is the chair. As I say, this is a Q&A, and thank you all for turning up. Let's have a look-see. The primary purpose of this stream, aside from answering the questions, is to be more transparent and to basically recognise that we haven't been as open about a number of things that we should have been, and we're going to be open about them now, and we're going to talk about where we're going and where we want to be, who the management are for a start, what we intend to do, some of the roadblocks we've run into, all this sort of stuff that typically has sort of sat down behind closed doors in private meetings and so on, as we're trying to discuss how best to serve the interests of the community and that sort of thing. So there we go.
First question on the comment section from Finnish River Band is, what party does the Liberalists support? Now, officially speaking, we do not support any party, if I'm correct in stating that, Mark.
Yes, you are.
The thing is, we will support people as they support our principles at times, maybe, but that doesn't necessarily mean we support them wholeheartedly and everything they stand for. At the moment, we have no official ties to anyone.
One of the reasons for this has to be a general lack thereof of official positions that the Liberalists UK holds, which is something of great personal importance to me that we need to really nail down in the next sort of few weeks and coming months, in fact. I mean, we've already seen how really divisive issues such as Tommy Robinson and Islam and that sort of thing have really divided the membership. There's also a clear divide between sort of what I'd call more hard libertarians and a more socially democratic base as well that has risen up, that routinely come into conflict of not ideology, but the best way to apply our principles.
I'd say that when it comes down to the Tommy Robinson thing and so forth, the issue we have here is that there are people that maybe disagree with his methodology and disagree with the methodology of those who follow him. That is not to say that we disagree that we would be opposed to Islamism in the same way as Majid Nawaz would define it, because of course that would be going against our principles of individualism. But that doesn't mean necessarily that we would support Tommy Robinson in everything that he does, because there are people that would disagree with his actions. I think that's a. Tell me if I ever step out of line, Mark, because I.
No, you're fine. But we're obviously we will come on to Tommy Robinson. I have no doubt at some point in the stream. I expect as more people funnel in, probably closer to 8 o'clock. We'll talk about that. But some of the questions that we've been getting to talk about. Firstly, what the structure is of the Liberalists UK. Basically, the Liberalists UK operates on a tiered system at the moment. We have a board of managers, directors, sort of flitting between names on that one. But basically, we have a chair, who is Joel. We have myself, I'm the head of marketing. We have Ben, who's the head of universities. We have a social media head, who's just been replaced. It's a guy called Matthew Kiff. We have online content and data analysis, which is Simon and
Jason.
Jason, that's the one. And we have an international liaison. That's John Wong, who you're probably all familiar with, who helped organize our first meetup. We also have, we don't have a co-chair at the moment, but who else do we have, Ben? Just remind me.
Let me think. So we've got Joel, Matt, yourself, Jason, Simon. We have our mod team as well.
Yeah, I'm going to get on to the next tier down.
And then I've got, then we've also got, have we not got a second co-chair still?
No, yeah, we don't at the moment. No, not one who's practicing.
But we also have sort of people that will, you know, over time we're trying to sort of build divisions up essentially. So we'd have, say, Joel, who oversees the lot because his role is to double check everything. We've also got secretariat, haven't we?
Yeah, that's Anne at the moment.
Yeah, we've got Stephen.
And yes, that's the one I was looking for. We have a treasurer now, which is very important to us. We have a treasurer called Stephen, who's come across to us. He has jumped ship from another liberalist group to join us, and you know, because we more closely fit to what he wants to achieve, and we can offer him a position. And he's in the process of getting us accounts at the moment, which should only take another week or so, in all likelihood, to get the application in, and then we will find out when things are going to happen. Basically, one of the questions to do with that was, when will we start using sort of organization and membership software, and the idea of having a membership, potentially a membership card, of having potentially a subscription system. We've toyed with the idea of a subscription system. The most important thing that we can think of to get going immediately is the account. As soon as the account is done, it opens up many options, both for just general fundraising. We can run proper fundraising events, but also for a potential subscription, which will deter basically piss takers and that sort of thing, as well as...
We also need to get ourselves registered as well. Are we registered yet?
Yeah. So we do not have a registered organisation. That's less of an issue in the UK. We're protected by common copyright and a couple of other bits and pieces. And also we have certain protections that apply to us because of historical action. Unfortunately, we can't register as a charity because in the UK, if you have a political aim, you cannot be a charity. However, we are working towards becoming a form of NGO. Whether or not what form that takes is still undecided, but we have a team of 2 legal guys who are working on that at the moment, who are basically trying to work out where we slot in and how, because things like insurance for events and that sort of thing, it will be really useful for us to be a part of a a registered organization. But unincorporated associations, as they're called in the UK, which is what we are now, is fit for purpose for the time being. It's just a long process to look at exactly what we want to be, and because we're not becoming a political party straight away, certainly we can't register as that just yet. So
Adam Williams has commented, accounts, sweet, 100% behind membership, opens up your accountability. Requested whether there'll be possible chapter houses, physical location.
As far as chapter houses go, we really want to make a push, and this is Ben's area, to establish liberalist societies in universities across the country to really push our name out there and that sort of thing.
Could I sort of roll off that story? So basically what I'm doing at the moment, and I've had to sort of slow down a little bit due to personal circumstances, but I've just had a meeting yesterday evening with some of the people from the higher education group, and also establish just a rough idea of how to get a society established at universities. My next phase, which I'm going to be working on Monday and Tuesday, is societal affiliations, because what we need to do is we need to get either liberalist societies or societies associated with the liberalists, one at every university potentially. This opens up potential for venues to have events where we can either host ourselves or host guests. So if we want to get a speaker down, or if we could potentially contact someone that was a YouTuber, for example, I'm not going to say names, it's obvious really, isn't it, to attend one of the universities, and we can get things all sorted out there. Then we can have a hub in every location in the UK for people to go to for an event. Which can then be used for online media and marketing and so forth as well. So essentially, we also want to have community hubs and things where people can meet and speak, because we want to strengthen our bonds. And the other thing is where someone sort of mentioned earlier about the political party thing, because we I don't know if anyone saw this, but we had a political compass uploaded, or we've had several in fact, that have shown that we have people from the left and the right of the spectrum, which is absolutely fantastic. It shows we are non-partisan. So the way that I'm marketing or looking to market at the universities now, and how to push the societies at universities, is to use the language of, it is a diverse organisation, Lib UK. It is, it is varied. It has a diverse range of opinions, and it is very inclusive of different political ideologies. And because of that, it is ideal for discussions at universities. It is a very positive thing, which is why we shouldn't put ourselves down particular direction too heavily. So once we've got an established position at multiple universities, it will make it so much easier to organise meetups, because also universities often have cheaper bars and so forth, and they have hotels nearby. And it also allows people to have events there as well. So it gives us everything we need.
Yeah. So the general idea is, as Ben stated, we want to effectively I wouldn't say take back the universities, but certainly we'll want to establish ourselves there and work towards that eventual goal. We are obviously trying to get the first events going, and it's taking a little longer because they will become the template for future events, and we really are keen for that to go off well. And whilst we are learning things with every subsequent event, I think it's important to try and get it right as much as we can first time as well.
Oh, so Davey1602 has put, that's a, let me have a look. No, sorry, not Davey. Sorry, Dustbane9. Are the Liberalists planning to have people stand in the next election if it is 2022? And what if there's an earlier one? So officially speaking, I don't think we've got a position of actually having a political party yet. We
would obviously like to see things transition. We were talking about this. We were talking about what influence we could have on either an existing party, whether or not it's more beneficial for us to move and create our own. In terms of creating our own, the startup capital for that is anywhere between 7 and 20 million. So unlikely in order to have an effective physical party, because there are many parties which have scrape together the cash to become a party, but they're no more than effectively independent candidates. So not really what we're going for. If we want to do something, we're going to do it well. In terms of en masse joining a party and becoming a voting bloc that party then has to deal with and to sort of concede points to and make things a liberal perspective in there. At the moment, we are too small. We're only 1,200 people push, and we are looking at sort of how at the moment we can grow. To put it in perspective, the Liberal Democrats, which is obviously the smallest party of the main three, has about 100,000 members. So in order to become a sizable voting bloc, I'm looking for us to become between 10 and 100 times the size we are now. If we were 100 times the size we are now, obviously we would be running our own party. But in order to become a significant voting bloc, certainly I'm looking for at least 10 to 15,000 people. So at the moment, no, we have no official plans to field a candidate at the next election.
That's not to say that if you want to stand as an independent candidate and stood by liberalist principles, we wouldn't necessarily push people your way. I mean, that's still a potential thing.
Yeah, we would look into that, definitely. Let me see. Thumbs up to strengthening bonds intragroup. As to university societies, how does that gel with non-students joining the Liberalists, or is that on a university by university basis?
So I've answered the question in the comments section, but essentially a lot of universities will allow you to have events that will enable you to invite guests from outside the university. It depends on where on campus the event's being hosted, and it depends on how the event's been arranged in the first place with the students' union, because a lot of the time you've got to go through the students' union university first to get approval with guests and so forth, which is where a lot of people hit a brick wall, because if some people are unpersons as far as the university is concerned, or potentially people that could stoke hatred, they're often uninvited. The way that the way that campuses run, we could potentially get events at some universities that would be open to the public. It really depends on the university. Now, they won't necessarily be able to join the society, but the society can still be open to other people coming to speak to them. A lot of university campuses are quite open. Yeah.
So the key is we think that there's probably a strong base for support within the universities. Also, the fact that everything that happens in the universities filters through to the wider society within 10 to 20 years means that it's definitely a target for us. It's just one area we're looking at, one aspect, but obviously it's a big one for us.
Sorry, can I just jump on that, Mark?
Yeah, sure.
So, just so people know where I'm coming from with this, because I haven't properly explained it to everyone. So with my angle on this, the universities need to be looked at. This is why we must not have too much of an official political position on anything beyond our principles. The way that I want to see university societies organised on campuses is not to be, because we're a non-partisan organisation officially, or unofficially based on the polls and so forth. I want to see the societies be arranged around supporting free speech and discussion. And I actually want this. One of the events that I've got a template that I'm looking to utilise on my campus, and it's in the process of being organised at the moment by a society on my campus, is around inviting speakers that are chosen by the different societies across the political spectrum to talk about the ideas of free speech and how it's important to enable discussion and have rules in place that allow people to be free to speak and disagree with one another. So my way of targeting the campuses is not around pushing a political narrative. It's around pushing a principle that allows people to discuss different political narratives and not allow one group to have a monopoly. But we're going to use the language of inclusivity, because discussion needs to be inclusive. It's how we truly learn. So the events that I'm looking to templates to push out to the societies and those that want to organize them involve including people from different societies, and also to found the societies, because some universities require a charter to be signed with at least 30 potential members. It's to source people from the Conservative Society, the Labour Society, the Socialist Society, the LGBT, whatever. Get as many people involved as possible who support the principles of free speech, because anyone that supports our principles can be classed as a liberalist.
Okay. Good. Let me see. Can we get Jordan Peterson to give us a shout out? Well, We could try, but we shall see.
We'll have to make sure he dabs as well.
Obviously, and says it in full Kermit voice whilst balancing the frog on his knee. Okay, let me see. How often is project management software being used? We use a number of different things to put together our platform. We have a Trello board, which we are currently not utilizing. It's a more of a resource for emergency backup and that sort of thing. At the moment, what we're trying to do is establish our website and the forum on there, and have a number of basically boards that for long form discussion, but also management resources. So what we really want to do is have a space where at the moment most of the documents are in cloud storage, using Google's own technology against it. So we want to move all of that into what is a space owned by us effectively. Even if it's not hosted by us, it will be owned by us. And then with documents obviously backed up in a secure location. That's the idea behind that one. As for where general liberalists can find information on our board members, that's also going up on the website. We have a link that I will post up after the stream, and that will be it's incomplete at the moment, but our online content manager Jason is doing that for us. Let me see. The UK page has been underutilized and should focus more on providing political commentary to guide and inform the readership. What is it going to be done to improve this? Okay. From a personal perspective, I would like to see the establishment of a team that runs the page, that runs the Twitter, that runs the different social media boards. That primarily is going to be Matthew Kiff's area of responsibility.
He's still sort of getting to grips with things. We're still kind of working on it a little bit.
Yeah, but particularly this week in general, I'm hoping that you'll see a lot more movement from not just myself and Ben and these sorts of Q&A streams and that sort of thing, but a lot more movement from managers who are clearly acting as managers and not as just members of the community. And I really, really want to see a real push for basically the management to be vocal and transparent and to be seen to be doing their job, because we're aware certainly that a lot of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes isn't transparent. So we want to engage with you a lot more, expect to see a lot more polls, expect to see basically events going up. I'm looking at talking with our meetup team and basically talking through a whole new way of doing meetups, because at the moment meetups are happening. We're getting some nice photos from I think Cornwall had theirs last night and that sort of thing. So we've got the unofficial stuff going, but as for official parlance from ourselves, we're clearly not giving enough, and we're not reaching out to the community for help enough in sort of doing this. So the main thing we want to do, for instance, is set up a meeting in Manchester. That's the one. But we've already got people who are saying, oh, I really want to do a meeting in the Northeast. And I'm like, well, we want to run an official meetup in the Northeast. We want to do Manchester. We want to do Edinburgh. We want to do Cardiff. We want to really push out an event, every 1 to 2 months that has sort of 100 to 200 people per event. We really want to get ourselves off the internet, for lack of a better term, because we all talk on here and we discuss things, and we just when we're not doing things in real life, like the Dankula March and meeting up in London and other places, it really isn't the same. It's not the same movement. It can be a lot more like just a discussion group or a vague. I hesitate to say just a reactive state, but that's what can be seen a lot of the time. So we don't want to be a place to have a moan. We want to be a place that's active, that where you feel that you're being engaged constantly by the management. We want to eventually get into the place where we're running elections. We want a community appointed chairperson eventually, and a vice chair probably. So we really want to push that out. That's the main priority. It's getting us into a really good position to basically engage in real life a lot of the time. Old Ent says, who owns the rights to the Liberalist logo design? Will the rights be transferred to the registered organization? I have access to the artist who gave us the logo and so on and so forth. He was a member at the time. I mean, I can ask him to transfer it to us. It hasn't been an issue yet, but obviously safeguarding, that's not something we've really considered. So thanks for that. What else do we have? Here's a big one. Ben, maybe you'll weigh in on this as well. Will the liberalist movement ever start to prioritize factors such as being anti-Islamic over its key principles, because that's what they see at the moment?
Sorry, repeat that again.
Well, the liberalist movement, speaking specifically about ourselves, has been caught up in all the Tommy Robinson, all the Islamic stuff. They're worried that we will begin to prioritize factors such as being anti-Islam over, advocating just for our principles and that sort of thing.
I think the problem is at the moment is a lot of people are reacting to the Tommy Robinson thing because that is in the media and that is a big thing at the moment. I think that we as managers need to, we need other people as well to come forward with putting forward content, so this doesn't, so we can dilute the Tommy Robinson stuff somewhat, because I think there's more people that are actively talking about that as opposed to, what's actually going on within any community. So we do need to get some more figures involved with us, potentially, people that follow the same sort of line as Majid and Nawaz, talking about, how to solve issues as opposed to merely just talking about these issues and how it's affecting people like Tommy Robinson. But really, we need to focus more on what our threats are to our principles, I think, and we need more people creating. And I think this is one of the reasons why, and I suggested a while ago, we do a Meet the Management video series. So people who want to actually find ways to contribute and help us out and actually be a part of our teams, they know exactly who to speak to depending on what they want to do. So I want, I want people to sort of, I want Jason to maybe do a video as well, so people know to go to the Jason. So if you guys want to put any content out there, if you guys want to make videos, and if you guys want to, put some articles and bits out there in relation to a political issue that relates to us, then we can focus more on those matters as opposed to things that are already going to filter in, because we all know what's going on with Tommy. I think that's. Do you think that answers the question? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big thing. I would say that no, we will never become just an anti-Islam group. I think it's obviously a big part of. It's difficult when a lot of Islamic rhetoric is illiberal.
It's not. The problem is it's not so much about, and this is something that Tommy sadly tends to blur the lines with at times, is we're not anti-Islamic because we also understand that different people define what's Islamic in different ways. So the way that Majid defines Islamic is very different to the way that Anjem Chowdhury defines Islamic. So we would be looking to support the likes of Majid because it's not our place to affect those communities. It's the place of the people who would follow the liberalist principles of free speech and so forth, empower themselves to affect what's going on within their own communities, as opposed to us go in to affect their own communities.
Yeah. I mean, the key is for us definitely to emphasize the fact, like we'd be very, very keen to push for a policy like appropriate policing and that sort of thing. And the fact that because blind justice is one of our principles, and where we can see that blind justice is not being applied, I think it's very, very clear that we would have a position on that sort of thing. That doesn't and shouldn't put us as purely in opposition to something like Islam, because obviously Reformed Islam and the evolution of Islam away from its rather barbaric, the barbaric parts of its text
we support individuals, and we would support the idea of an Islamic Church of England effectively over being anti-Islam in its entirety.
Yeah, definitely. In the same way that there are issues with a lot of different things. But moving on from Islam, I think we've answered the question saying we won't prioritize being anti-Islam over, anything else. This is a question from Marco, who's a regular contributor to the group, and I'm going to read it as he has written it. And I'm not sure entirely I understand the question. So if he's in the chat, or if anyone else can listen and elaborate for us as well. And if you get the answer, then please comment. He says, there's a growing amount of dissonance between group culture, how the majority perceive and interact with the group, and the nature of the group dictated by the principles. This is palpable around the areas of secularism, individual sanctity, and our unspoken but innate contention with identity politics and collectivism. It's this disparity that I believe is holding us back and will need to be rectified. How are you as a group and as individuals inclined to deal with this? Now, I may be blind, but I don't necessarily. The dissonance I see between in how the majority perceive and interact with the group is. I mean, I assume that he's talking about within our community, not about the way that the media and other people basically perceive us. I definitely think we've picked up a little bit of a spirit of complacency recently. I'm not going to lie. The tone of posts has moved from basically here is something, an article or something else in society, and this is how we should deal with it, or how are we going to deal with this, or perhaps we could do X or Y, and that has changed now to isn't this terrible, or look at this shit. So I think there's a real difference in the attitude of proactivity that we had, and we are losing some of the proactive people because they then see, less proactive. But that's not to say that proactive people aren't there, or that we can't. It's an endemic problem. It's just a leaning, I think, mainly because, as I say, we haven't run enough of a public face set of events. We haven't run or put enough emphasis on really getting local sort of fortnightly or monthly meetings in local areas together, and that sort of thing. I really think that that needs to be a massive focus for us. I really want us to get together in pubs, in houses, in all over the country, and to really discuss how you can make changes in your local area, how you can influence local government, how we can get into societies and universities, how we can talk to people, how we can make arguments together in a good way.
I think the more we have a structure in place as well with people that are regular contributors and so forth, I think you'll see the quality improve dramatically. At the moment, we need to pick up a little bit and have more teams in place to sort out content, and also to post things on the social media and stuff, so we can go back to, well, this thing's going on, so how do we see it, how do we improve this, or how do we have a positive impact in society to affect this and so forth, just as we did before, as opposed to the isn't this terrible thing. I just think we just need to make sure the people that were doing the former before, we just need to maybe give them an official role and get them to put more up.
Mark has asked what the difference is between liberalists and libertarians. We're basically more pro-state, and we have more of a, I would say we have more of a range of people from across the political spectrum.
I think so. With the pro-state thing, though, we're pro-state in a nuanced fashion. We're not the
So no developed nation exists without a central government. There is a reason why places like Somalia don't work, and we're not anarchistic. We believe that the state has to exist in a pragmatic way in order to enforce. Rousseau put it as a social contract, but I'm not particularly pro Rousseau. So the it's about ensuring that laws are enforceable and that sort of thing. We're definitely a proponent of smaller government, but again, we do not have enough positions, which is something again we're going to try and hash out in the coming months and years.
We're not dramatically against anything. So, in the case of if I use Sweden as an example, back when their welfare system was one where you have people that would fall onto a safety net but want to bounce back up off the safety net. We're not against the safety net in that sense. However, if you have a society where people fall on the net and too many people fall on it and it breaks and you have a state of learned helplessness as a society, we wouldn't be for that. We'd be for, trying to find ways to ensure that whatever, policy around social programs or whatever was put in place would make sure that there are ways to improve it and tweak it should society be going dramatically in one direction or another.
Do liberalists believe that taxation is theft? Yes, but pragmatic answers as well. So you do need a way for your state to run, and unfortunately, no one has provided a better way than taxation so far. In terms of where is this question gone? Mark said we need a few big money donors. Okay, so when we get our when we get our accounts ready and it's up and running, and we should be able to start. For a start, merchandising. We have stuff that we want to be able to sell, liberalist merch and so on. We also have, we may potentially run a sort of a subscription service, but we've yet to identify either how much that's going to be and how mandatory it's going to be and that sort of thing. But we know that we probably want to run one. Put it this way, if half the people who currently exist in the Liberalist Facebook group put in £2 a month, then we would have about £14,000 a year to spend on getting stuff moving. That's the idea. For things like at the moment, for instance, to run our meetup in London, for example, it cost £4,500, of which I believe we had to put down a £2,000. Was it £2,000 deposit? There was a huge deposit.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Anyway, and then we had to pay for security on top of that because of the Antifa threat. Now, we paid for that out of our own pockets, and so the idea is that we need to basically have a source of income so that the imposition is not on either ourselves or on sort of general crowdfunding, right? So that's the plan for that one. Let's see. Any more questions that I can see right now? That's more about what we're going to do and less about positions of the Liberalists, because again, this is all stuff that will be discussed in great depth in the coming months. In the future, would it be prudent to coalition or party with other parties or organizations with same or similar views? Yes, I see that happening. The world is one of compromise, or all negotiation is compromise. So basically, without compromising our principles, obviously, because those are the one. That's supposed to be the reduced basic state for which we would not compromise on. But anything past there, we would discuss with obviously the membership and that sort of thing. So we've had talks about and great disagreements about whether to align ourselves with things like generation identity, that came out as a no, and whether or not to align ourselves with the Libertarian Party, which I believe you're running your event in tandem with, Ben.
No. My university society is Hearts Liberty, and I have some ties with. I've spoken to Students for Liberty as an organisation, but the people that are members of it that I've spoken to really are they're not libertarian in the right wing sense. They're kind of they're around the classical liberal area. I know the society on my campus is more sort of classical liberal.
Yeah. I would point out that Will says, I think some principles have to be compromised on, such as self-reliance. Go tell a disabled guy to be self-reliant.
So with one thing, I'm going to be doing a stream soon, actually, with someone that I know. But basically, with self-reliance, a disabled person is self-reliant up to a point where they can no longer be self-reliant, in the same way as we're reliant on having an employer. We're reliant on having schools. We're reliant on so many things to get us to a certain point in society. Disabled people, of course, have got more issues and more challenges to overcome. However, providing the society assists them to be as self-reliant as possible, so they're not, they don't suffer in a state of learned helplessness, then that is, that's still less reliant than they may be otherwise.
Yeah. So we will be having streams on the key principles. We've already had a few. You'll find them on this channel. The first one actually was on Ben's channel, that Ben guy. Yeah, we will be having streams on this, not to worry. And we'll be talking about where the principles end and why, and, what pragmatically, because principle is lovely. But it's some things that are pragmatically untenable. It's like democracy. Democracy is a practical. A democracy is a principled sort of position to have, but direct democracy doesn't work for the whole of the nation. So, are we a representative democracy and that sort of thing? So, there's lots of discussion on that sort of thing, which we will be going into, which should be good. Someone says, we also have in our principles reference to dignity, which I infer means assistance for the disabled, etc., to generate self-reliance. Yes, so things which are beyond people's control, and that sort of thing, where you wouldn't necessarily be against. If we ever go for corporate sponsorship, I suggest Wolf Blass, Regal King Size, and Vesta Beef Risotto. I have no idea what that means, but
that's a bit of risotto.
Secularism is a stream that we intend to do. What are our plans for the next 2 weeks? Do you have anything in your role that is going to call you in the next 2 weeks, Ben?
Yes. So, as I said, Monday, Tuesday, I'm going to be working more on the establishing society side of things at universities, and also developing more templates for events for universities, ones that appear inclusive and won't rile up students' unions. They'll be, they'll easily be passed through the system. I've also potentially got a couple of streams that will be coming up as well that will relate to liberalist principles and ideas. But there will be my personal channel. However, if there's anything else going on that we can put on the liberalist page as well, then that'll be going on. I think I'll be chatting with Mark and people as well, and we're going to be sort of focusing more on structure and bits around pushing our managers forward, perhaps, maybe. I think that's probably the best way to do it. I don't know about you, Mark.
So the big things that I want to push, particularly in the next 2 weeks, are our Manchester meetup. I want it out. I want it advertised. I want it to be subscribed to. Our treasurer getting the account sorted. Our chair, who's doing the merchandising for, I think he's ordered some pins and that sort of thing, which can all go towards that. From a marketing perspective, definitely reaching out, trying to get a liberalist stream going with probably V, because he's usually the one who's available, but we'll try for Sargon as well. But obviously he's in America at the moment, so he's probably very, very busy.
In the colonies.
In the colonies, yes. Make America Great Britain again and all that. That's official liberalist policy, by the way. There we go. Obviously, we have interactions with the Liberalists International Association and the Liberalists Facebook, which are the international branches of the Liberalists. We are not affiliated except by name with them. We still are trying to work out the nature of our relationship. We are on friendly terms with both of them. We've obviously had some disagreements. This is why we have John, who's our liaison, who talks with us about the international group and that sort of side of things. And obviously, with the International Association, that's a Discord server and also a Facebook page, I believe, at this moment, who we're talking to and just maintain links with, just to know what's going on there and how we can help things as well and that sort of thing. Because at the end of the day, we're all trying to make our principles work, and no one has done anything so untenable thus far, as far as I'm aware, that would mean we completely disavow them. But obviously, we want to have a wide reach. We have a couple of contacts in a couple of independent journalists and that sort of thing. And really, we're looking for another campaign. There's been a lot of debate about the Free Tommy thing. So that's going on the 9th of this month. It's a week today. We are not as yet officially promoting that, but we're going to run a poll straight after this stream ends, by the way, that will basically assess how much of our community is behind that. At the moment, I'm quite disappointed. We have only got about maybe 100 to 200 people who are responding to those polls. So really, I would encourage you to keep an eye out and do it. Although you're here, all 32 of you, so I'm assuming that you're probably those active people who really want to get everything done. Can you confirm Meghan Markle is a liberalist plot to unite the UK and US under a unified monarchy? Ben, I know this was your division, so.
What? My division? What?
Yeah, you're the one who orchestrated it, right?
I don't know what you're on about.
Yeah, you got them together. I mean,
Did
you
I?
were the guy. Yeah.
Was I the guy? I don't know. I thought you were the person. I thought that you were the guy that operated Harry Puppet.
Well, whoever did that, yeah, we're responsible. Yeah, sure. We will bring people together. Let me see. Yeah. So as things would like to go forward, I really want to. I'm going to run another poll, which basically says, what is the liberalist opinion on meetups as they currently exist? Options being things like I attend a regular local meetup. I would like to attend a local meetup. I don't know how, or one doesn't exist near me. I would like to put more focus on official events and regular meetups, and vice versa. And then, of course, meetups happen. So I'm really keen, basically, to get this sort of local thing and to have people come and post in the group and say, we had this meetup and we had 30 people turn up. It's amazing. When can we get a big official event coming to us? That's what I really want to see. I really like that. The Tommy thing is something we should report on daily, considering Leeds yesterday, Manchester today. Possibly keep it in a single discussion post on the group. Okay, so what I'm doing at the moment, one of our guys is putting together an infographic, basically of the pro Tommy comments and the sort of anti-Tommy comments, or more sort of pro-support, anti-support, because we still maintain that what he's standing against is a relevant issue. That's not a problem. It's just there's been a lot of controversy about the way he acts. So what I want to do is, again, run another series of polls, but with these infographics out there so that people are informed, because this is a real problem that I've seen. People talk about it, new information comes to the light, then one person swears at, people flip-flop all the time. And there are some really opinionated people as well who are really jabbing in there. And I don't think we've got to the point of ad hom yet, but the discourse has been aggressive, to say the least. So the idea is that we will basically be able to put the information. Everyone will have access to the same information. We will be able to make a considered decision on what we're going to do with that, particularly as protests continue. Although at the moment, as far as I'm aware, they're quite small. If we want to lend our weight to that, we will. But there is nothing that tells me that well, certainly we're not unified on this, right? But I really want to put the information out there so people are able to consider their individual opinion. That's very important to me. Let me see. What state is the website forum in? I wish I had Jason here. He's the one who's building it. As far as I'm aware, you can register an account at the moment, and I really, really want to ensure that that's a functional space, and then we can really start pushing that as well for long form discussion in particular. In terms of Discord, again, we've managed to avoid some of the issues that the international Discord has had with basically people trying to co-opt it and being invaded by people and that sort of stuff. Basically, we have a private link to Discord, but we're still trying to find the best way to disseminate that to members who are interested in Discord, because not everyone uses Discord and other things like that. Mark says, can I grab you for a minute after the stream with regards to the website? You're best off messaging Jason Barker on Facebook. He's
Jason's the guy.
He is the guy for that. So you are more than welcome to do that. Do you guys realize how much money major parties get from sponsors? There is no way to hijack a party. Again, it's it's an option. We're exploring all the options. That's all that is. I'm not saying we're going to go hijack a party. What I'm saying is we're too small to do anything at the moment, and we need to really focus on growing. Okay.
If we have people here who are members of political parties and they share the liberalist ideas, you don't necessarily have to hijack a party immediately. What you need to do is have enough people that are members of the parties that agree with the principles, because slowly you'll see the Overton window shift.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Project Editorials, Momentum managed it for Britain, that sort of thing. Co-opting will always be a problem, like Tommy's EDL. Yeah, which is why I'm really keen to catch things like basically the change in the tone of discourse away from proactivity. I'm really keen to nip that in the bud now. I really don't want to let us degenerate into just another discussion group. Would it not be better to create our own national students' union to compete with the over-politicized NUS? Ben?
Well, as it says, Mark's already spoken with me about this, so this is probably about your thoughts now, Mark.
Okay. In terms of, again, we're too small at the moment. Like, the key is to get the societies. Once we have the societies in the reach, once we are a political force of some size, we will be able to make far more of an impact. NUS has the monopoly at the moment. There's not much we can do with that at the moment.
This is the whole point. So I want to essentially start societies at universities and start to slowly use their language to actually mean what it should mean in the first place when it comes down to diversity of ideas and opinions, and actually enable people again to be individuals at universities as opposed to just going into set groups. Once we are allowed to have our discussions on campuses, we can easily challenge the NUS, if not have it change from the inside naturally anyway, because the people that would be going into the NUS would be people that would have already been at universities that would have enabled these discussions. The people like Tom Harwood, although Tom Harwood didn't get in, Tom Harwood was someone who resonated. The more people we get who are like Tom Harwood going forward, the easier you'll see a change at universities anyway. We have to do it very carefully, and we have to just slowly filter more and more of these ideas in, not make ripples in the water. We don't want to backlash against us. We want to just have the students talk about diversity of ideas and discussion, because we're not anything to fear anyway. The problem is the NUS currently, and a lot of students' unions are there to, they're supporting things like hate speech policies and diversity quotas, and which is essentially racism. We need to sort of just allow the debate to shift, because our ideas will win. We just need to allow them to be present.
Yes. We are winning. We will be winning. And you can already see some of the culture shifting anyway. I really want to capitalize on the people who are newly disenfranchised, who are struggling. You say make a competing union stand again. We are too small, I'm afraid, at the moment, Mark. You know, big dreams, maybe in a year's time, but we are too small right now. We need to have a presence on university campuses before we do that. How do we get more members then? That's Edward Mears. So again, establishing university societies, engaging with our community to meet regularly, so people can just invite people. You know, if you've got 24 groups that are meeting nationwide, and basically are sitting down in, you know, different groups and are actively, you know, encouraging people around to join in and that sort of thing, then you're going to grow.
Also, you know, this isn't just about the organization itself. People who are members of the Liberalists need to talk about what's going on in politics with their friends, their family, their colleagues. It's all about discussion, because eventually there's nothing unsavory about the Liberalist principles whatsoever. We need to make sure that we're actually shifting discussion online and in our personal lives, because these things will just naturally grow. I think we must do something.
Just to point out again, like when I talk about the change in tone within the group, I talk about how basically when you become a space to have a gripe, people stop griping about those things to people in real life. They come here and they do it instead because they know people will understand and resonate. So it needs to move from changing it from moaning to the fact that when people come to our group, they see ideas that they can implement in their lives and in when they talk to other people, that there are arguments that can be made, that they can speak from a strong position of principle. And that's the plan, basically. How do we fight with the institutions which are completely occupied by the collectivist left? Again, by leading by example, by hoovering up all the people who are disenfranchised and talking to the majority and treating people like human beings, and basically saying, you know, you're more than just, you know, your collective identity, and you should be engaged.
Sorry, sorry, Mark, but and let's not forget the fact that the way that the collectivist left has taken over is by using a victim status and trying to make themselves out to be the victims when actually they are the oppressors. We need to make sure that we're better at reversing their arguments and say, well, 1 minute, you're the oppressors. You know, with the way that I'm defining the societies and the charters, the whole definition of the society and the aims is to foster a diverse discussion of different political ideas that are non-partisan, to allow free speech and to allow students from a diverse range of backgrounds and be to have an inclusive society that is willing to foster a diverse discussion. Now, if the universities decide to say no to that charter, straight away we've got a weapon to bash them on the head because they're against diversity. We need to use their language against them because they're completely in a state of cognitive dissonance. We can easily win this, but we have to be smart to show them how they're actually going against their whole idea of what oppression actually is.
And that doesn't mean co-opting their language. That means using the language correctly. So, you know, when we talk about diversity, we are specifically talking about diversity of thought, and there's not much they can do about that. Olden says there are a lot of disenfranchised working class who will drift towards the EDL, Britain First. Liberalists look more like student and middle class group. I mean, you'll have different groups at different levels of society anyway, but I really hope that basically having a grassroots movement in as many towns as possible and having weekly, bi-weekly, weekly, fortnightly, monthly meetings in regular places all over the country, that we can really push for that engagement with people on a baser level than just, you know, in the intellectual academic space. You know, it's a two-pronged attack, as it were. So that's the key. I believe some of what we need to do is civilly disobeying the draconian policies. Speaking freely in a funny manner will change minds better than a news article. Right. Yeah, so engaging people on a human level. In terms of civil disobedience, like, I can't think of anything that wouldn't, at the moment, that wouldn't backfire or alienate. That has been suggested as civil disobedience that would alienate, that wouldn't alienate, sorry, the average voter, and that sort of thing.
Cumberland Sausage says there's been people in the International Liberalist Facebook group saying the UK group are leftist censorers. Where might they be coming from?
We do not allow ad hominem in our group as much as physically possible. This is why we have a moderation team. And we would like to keep things on topic. We have been a little lax and less censorious. Some people say, oh, you know, my point was moderated in a comment thread. I have a lot of stuff gets thrown against a couple of our moderators, but the comments that are being moderated, we keep meticulous logs. We have a group where we back up every single decision that is made. People, if they want to contest it, can come to us. I will be posting as soon as I can the grievance policy, and I think it's really important that we are transparent in what we're doing, but we are not censorious at all. We ask people to self-moderate, and when things stray away from discussion of ideas and instead put on an ad hominem attack on the person who's making those ideas, or they put something equally, just like someone puts up an article, it's a nasty article about grooming gang, and someone just puts a comment that is emotionally charged but doesn't contribute anything to how we are going to basically tackle that issue. I mean, we're not going to moderate most of that because it's good to have a venting space, but at the same time, we would frown and we would like to see more, this is awful, but we could do this and we could do that, or we want to do X, Y, and Z. So
we're not here to become an angry mob against something. We're here to actually say, well, this is the problem, so how do we solve it, and where do we think this problem's come from? It's more about stepping back for a second, assessing, as opposed to emotionally charged arguments to be angry.
And we can talk, like, as I say, just by hosting basically unofficial meetups everywhere, we will engage with the working class, because a lot of people choose to meet in pubs, for instance. We have quite a few working class members, to be perfectly honest, who are interested. I mean, we have the usual middle class internet dweller, but we also have a number of people who come to us from a working class background who are interested in getting things done. These people tend to be really sort of doers more than talkers, and it's about deciding the best course of action. But those people are some of the strongest that we have for actually getting stuff done. Sometimes we mistake shit posting for nasty posting. The group isn't about shit. Yeah, we have a meme group if you want to shit post, called the Meme Vault. We're really not interested in shit posts in the main group. That's why we may also be called censorious. We're just not shit posters. That's it.
Well, we are, but we know that when to stop it, and this page isn't the place for shit posting.
Well, no, there are a dime a dozen meme and shit post pages, and that's not where we are. Somebody said, blah, blah, blah. If you've seen someone who's saying those sorts of things, Crimson Bull, please bring it to the attention of our moderators, tag people. If it's been missed, it's been missed. We're not perfect. We're looking at expanding the moderation team as well, and that sort of thing. Can we appoint someone to arbitrarily decide who is and who is not a liberalist? I don't think so. And not one person.
Personally, I believe that no true liberalist would say something like that. So
no.
Mark now.
Obviously.
Not you, Mark. The other Mark.
No, I know what you're saying. We don't have, like, purity testing. We have a few members who are really keen, who will be deliberately very aggressive in order, like they bait out, the people in there, and I just go, I'm not interested in purity testing whatsoever. We have people who have different ideas, who see the principles and the way that they are applied slightly differently, and we are not yet of a unified vision, and that sort of thing. You'd know if you ever spent time with the proles on Discord, Mark. Get yourself on. I used to be on Discord quite a lot. Unfortunately, I'm quite busy with work at the moment, but I am planning on being relatively active again. It's going to take
Mark needs to drive around his Rolls Royce. I'm sorry.
Obviously.
I'm pressing you.
What do you mean I drive? Like, my chauffeur will drive me. It's fine.
Bitterman.
Obviously. What's our position on EU and Brexit? We were discussing our positions, our specific positions, as we go forward. As far as Brexit goes, as proponents of democracy, we've basically said that we want to see Brexit through. That's not to say that we agree with the way it's being done right now. So
we're pro democracy, and I think that generally speaking, even the people on the page that voted for Remain accept the fact that although it was handled poorly by both sides, the vote happened, and that was the way it was set up. So it's not that we're pro Remain or pro Leave; it's we're pro vote.
So, from my perspective, I voted Remain. Quite open about that sort of thing. I do believe democracy needs to be seen through now that the vote has happened, however, and I am pro-Europe more than I am pro-European Union. Let me see. So, Mog for PM, or will we endorse it? Mark confirmed cuck. I'm afraid not. I really don't.
But I thought I was the cuck. I'm soy sink.
Soy sink. Amazing. Yeah, we're an hour in now. Do we have any more questions from the audience? I've exhausted my list right now, but is there anything you want to know? Anything at all about the goings on of the management? How to apply for positions? Anything basically that you want to know about? Greg, regional groups are big. Not everyone wants to travel from Luton to Seaside. Could we start local groups with local coordinators? So this is part of what we want to do in terms of local meetups. I don't want it to be necessarily in our control. I want us to be a place where we can talk about the meetups that we've had, but I really want to empower members to, and devolve powers to the members to go and advertise and get stuff going in their local area and to talk about the things which were successful, the things that were less successful, and that sort of thing.
There was, okay, so that was something we forgot to mention, Mark. So when you were naming all the managers, we forgot to mention there was a communities manager. Do we know what's going on with Cameron at the moment?
He needs to be replaced. He's not doing anything. So I'm on the lookout for a new community manager, basically.
So one of our plans where I'm the university chap, and I've got contacts. I'm going to have contacts in societies in a list of all the universities, which are also grouped by region, so east of England, northeast, and so forth. We also will look to have a community organisation chap who will have a regional coordinator that they speak with as well. So the way it would work is you get the Liberalists UK Communities Organiser, then one for the east of England, northwest, and so forth. And then they might have a county one or something like that. That's something we suggested before. The problem is that the chap who was the communities manager had a lot of personal things to deal with. But I can imagine that's probably the way that we'd like to see it done again. So even if
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. So some at the moment, I'm keen to just get people meeting up. In terms of like regional coordinators and that sort of thing, we did try that quite early on. It ended up being a bureaucratic nightmare of people who thought that they could take on the role of a regional manager, couldn't. There were a lot of different names. No one knew who anyone was or what the process was and that sort of thing. So the idea is that we get a few successful ones. I need to talk to whoever sorted out the Cornwall meetup because that looked quite successful and that sort of thing. So we can really get an idea of how these things are going to go and how often.
And if there is another Cornwall one, I want an invite because I like pasties.
Of course you do. Who doesn't love pasties, honestly? But in terms of sort of wider reaching official events, yeah, Manchester is our next thing, and then Edinburgh, hopefully, but we're going to do it. Let me see. If all matter is just energy condensed onto a single plane, how can there possibly be an afterlife? I am not qualified to answer that question. Daughter of Albion says, tell me more about the merch. We want to have basically hoodies, t-shirts, membership cards, lapel pins, and a number of other things. Maybe mugs, but we haven't done it yet. It's something that, again, we're waiting for the account to be live so that we are not holding any money in our personal accounts. All right. Any further questions from anyone? If anyone wants to arrange a meetup, just create an event on Facebook for it. Yeah, we want to. That Tensler in chat, that's our our treasurer. Unfortunately, he can't join us on stream right now, but he's quite correct. Create an event, send us it, make it a public event. We'll quite happily market it for you and put it in the calendar so that anyone who's a liberalist who sees it can do that. I'm quite happy to do that. Anyone else? If I don't, how long do you think before we have some sort of financial structure in place? A question for our treasurer. I'm hoping that we will have an account. We've already got signatories, by the way. So we have 4 signatories at the moment who are going to go onto the account. So the financial structures, as it were, will be in place. And then we will generate things like a PayPal.me link for donations. And then we'll be talking about, as soon as the account is live, we'll be talking about how we would implement something like subscriptions. That's the only thing. We're quite happy to do that. Through Bitcoin, no, I don't think so. Not with the state of Bitcoin right now.
Give me back my cheap graphics cards.
Basically. Yeah, so our treasurer's just said, I expect it within the next week or 2 if everything goes smoothly. That's good.
Hi, Tensor.
Crimson Ball says, I want to talk to you guys about security. Well, phrase it as a question and we will do our best. Mark says, yeah, that's huge robot. That's that. Once we have funding and structure in place, do you think it would be possible to bus people into protests and stuff? I think definitely if we have a subscription model, then it will be possible to have a wide reach. I mean, if we grow in size and that sort of thing, and we remain relatively cheap, then definitely. I mean, just for, you know, £25 a year, then, you know, we can do a hell of a lot with that kind of money.
The more money we have, the more we can assist others.
And if we had 1,000 members who are paying that, yeah, I mean, 25 grand, like it only costs, it'll only cost about £100 a bus to get things from certain places. It's really not difficult. And that sort of thing. Again, that's this is all hypothetical. We're really focusing on just getting the accounts ready, on getting everything there. I'd probably be able to do a £100 monthly contribution once it's up and running. That would be amazing if you can manage that. But we'll see that. Liberalist Steam group is up. I'm all by myself on it. Well, you are free to recruit the gamers, Will.
Daryl would like to speak to you on Discord afterwards.
Yeah, sure. That's fine. Alex keeps saying, don't you wish your girlfriend was fit like me? I think he just wants a shout out. That's that. 25k, maybe we could afford a shout out from Peterson that one time. Peterson's fee is $15,000 for an appearance, so if we saved and saved and saved, maybe we could get him in.
I'll break my piggy bank and have a look at my pennies.
That side of things. Can we get PewDiePie on board? I will certainly talk to his agent and to Sargon and to V and that sort of thing, who have the influence to be able to put a more direct have a more direct connection with him. We would try, but no promises.
I think we're good.
I do think we're good. I think this brings an end to it. Peterson would interview for free if we approach him in the right way. Yeah, he definitely has a soft spot, particularly for liberals in the UK. So we would be very open to talking to him. We do have a line to him. If Carl Benjamin is to be believed. So that would be good. I have a lazy wife, 3 hungry kids, and a minimum wage job. Can I join for $250 a year, or perhaps my empty iron brew bottles? This is why we would discuss about you know, the mandatory nature of these sorts of things. So really,
sorry, carry on.
Yeah, really keen to. This is something that we would discuss at great length with the community. It's not something we're going to arbitrarily do and then kick everyone who doesn't apply. So there you go.
Will has asked the most important question, which is
no, we're not. We're not even saying the question. This is the one question that we will not answer.
I'll answer the question. I'll answer the question. So, Tenzel's here. So traps.
Hey guys, I'm a little bit ill, but
sorry, I'm answering an important question here. So traps. If you don't know they're a trap, then in that state in time, it's Schrodinger's penis. You don't know there's a penis there. There's no that you haven't got a clue. In which case, it's both gay and not gay at the same time. But as long as you know there's if you don't know if there's a penis there, it's still a woman. So traps aren't gay until you know they're a trap.
There you go. The scientific method applied again. Should we set up a liberalist dating site to create the pure liberalist master race? No, because we're not interested in a master race. But there you go. There we go. We'll create an ideas dating site. Who knows? I'm blaming that bloody cat. Mark is a cuck, though. Okay. That's a good note to end on, I think. All right.
Hello.
A pleasure talking to you all. I'm hoping to run another stream next week, but keep your eyes peeled. It will be appearing as a pinned post in the group.
Is Thames not going to say anything?
It's just coming at the wrong time.
I know. I've been quite ill, and I've just finished my tea. So
okay.
Yeah. In regards to the account, I did want to just respond to that. Like, I know I did it in chat already, but in case anyone missed it, I'm working on that just now. With these types of accounts, things go a little bit slower than they do with personal accounts, but I still expect to have a result within a week or two.
Good.
Fantastic.
Marvellous. And on that note, take care, ladies and gentlemen.
Pleasure, guys. Take care.